And good evening, I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin. I want to update folks as to what has been going on around primarily the entire metro area, Jefferson and Orleans Parish. We do still have, for parts of both of those parishes, a flash flood warning. Now, the good news is those most intense rains, which triggered that warning, have been subsiding. Still some light, moderate rainfall, but the heaviest, at least within the warned area, or at least even within our advisory area, has been coming to an end. And this should gradually continue to weaken over the course of the next 30 to 45 or so minutes. Now, we will likely see, or we will see, the flash flood warning continue until it expires just before 10 o'clock, only because there are still a number of streets flooded, and that will just take some time. But thankfully, with that rain now coming to an end, we should start to see most of those low-lying areas or those flooded areas come to an end. In fact, just coming back into the station here, I drove past a couple of those areas, and the water has already started to recede in those places. These downpours were kind of well forecasted, just impossible to say exactly where they're going to set up. We knew we would continue with the rainfall late into the evening and night, as based on some of the models I was showing you even more than 24 hours ago. So we knew we would have the potential for some heavy rainfall. And I've been mentioning that over the last couple of days, that within some of the storms that we see, heavy rainfall is certainly always a possibility, not a guarantee, but a possibility. And we know in the city it doesn't take much to get those streets to flood. Although at one point we were looking at about 4 to 5 inches of rain per hour falling, and we did see a decent accumulation. Now, kind of unofficially, based upon radar estimates, we had anywhere from 3.5 to nearing 4 inches of rainfall, and this is actually on both sides of the river, 2.5 plus around the City Park area and Central City, and then as you head out farther toward Kenner, we picked up about 1 inch of rainfall, although officially at Kenner, not quite that much, 0.83 inches of rainfall. Again, these are the official totals, but in between all of these observing stations, especially over the heart of the city, we did see quite a bit more rainfall. And these showers should probably continue to weaken a bit. You'll notice our model has a fairly decent job of where those storms are at the moment. And as we kind of put this into the future, model indicating maybe some intensification, or at least those storms holding together over the next 45 minutes, so going toward the 10 o'clock hour. Maybe. It doesn't look like that has been a trend, certainly over the last half hour or so. This model is saying it's a possibility. We'll watch the trend over the course of the next half hour, 45 minutes or so. And then certainly after 11 to 12, we should see most of those storms come to an end. Now, something that the Weather Service had mentioned, these storms that are out over central Louisiana, extreme southwestern Mississippi, as we kind of put our model into motion here, we'll see what those do. Now, the model does trend for them to weaken. Again, sometimes these are kind of a surprise. If this were to be the case, though, it wouldn't be moving in until closer toward daybreak, maybe a couple of hours before sunrise. But at the moment, the storms that are out to our northwest do not look like they're going to continue to be an issue for us at all. So we'll be watching that rainfall through the rest of this evening and into the night. The good news, though, as I've said, where we did have the flash flooding and a number of roads reported, we've had several intersections and areas that have reported the street flooding, sometimes impassable. Just use caution. I know a lot of folks in town with Essence. I saw a lot of those folks on the roadways. Just use caution. No reason to try and drive through any flooded areas. If it is high water, sometimes you send that water into businesses or homes, and sometimes you can just stall out your car. So probably better to just try an alternate route. But a lot of our street level roads are at times kind of impassable, at least for the most part, kind of our usual suspect type spots. If it floods in a downpour, it's probably still flooded right now, and we will just wait to see. As I said, our model trying to kind of re-intensify these storms, but the trend has been over the last hour or so for these to weaken. So I think that is probably going to be our trend as we continue throughout the rest of the night tonight. So some good news there after we had to deal with some heavy rainfall late this evening.